Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage, Monday night edition. It is August 8th, 2022. Man, we're on the downside of summer, I think. Like we're on the past the midway point of the year. I think we've hit the days are starting to get shorter, right? You know where that works? Somewhere in, I don't know what the date is, but it reaches the longest day and then it starts getting shorter. So that means fall will be here eventually. Nothing we can do to stop that. So, welcome, and if you're new to the live stream, if you're curious about what's going on, we try to focus on classic cars, 50s, 60s, 70s. Yeah, that's about where we stop. Sometimes we may get into an 80s car or something like that, but we try to focus on the classics in that aspect, and it could be anything. Fords, Chevys, Mopars, AMC, Studebaker, doesn't really matter. We just try to bring up topics and talk about it. So if you're interested and you want to have a subject matter brought up, by all means, feel free to bring it up. And if you have a question, I ask that you present it so we can help you answer that question. If we get a good answer, you get a bell. Nice little reward system I have. And I also give random bells, well, whenever I feel like it. So here's a bell for everybody. Consider that a freebie. Everybody gets a bell all at once. Boom. Taken care of. Sometimes I forget about the bell. I just start reading comments and just go. And that's okay too. That's okay too. So it is pretty warm here today. It's not as bad as it is in other parts of the country. And it has been storming off and on in various parts of our state. I know when I was driving around earlier today in the middle of downtown, or what is our downtown, it was soaking wet. It was just like it hit the major intersection of the town and everything else around it was dry. So it's like, hey, need some rain right here, and that's it. But we've been hearing thunder rumbling and clouds rolling around, so maybe it'll rain tonight. It's hard to say. Let's see who's here. Right off the top, Crash Rider. Greetings from still hot but better Southern Indiana. Great progress by Joe Daddy on the Gasser Project. Give yourself a bell. Everyone be sure to hit the thumbs up when signing in. Yes, by all means, hit the bell. Let everybody know we're doing this. And I'm trying to keep the riffraff out, so I changed it so it can only be subscribers that can make comments. So if you want to be part of that conversation, if you're new, by all means, subscribe. It may take a little bit for your thing to process, but you can join in at that point. Jessica's checking in. She's the number 2 check-in. Hi, all. Jessica, give you a bell. How about that? Terry Keithley. Evening, all, and Barry. Please hit the thumbs up and like button. Thank you kindly. Yes, thank you, Terry. Roger checking in from next door. Glad you're here, Roger. And we need to talk about where he and I went today. Just to stir up some thoughts. But Bob Shoemaker, good evening from hot Oklahoma. It was a sauna in the shop with the hot cleaner running. So I'm guessing you mean like a steam, maybe like a steam Jenny, I'm assuming. I don't know. But give you a little bell for that. Troy, happy Monday, gang. The gasser is looking really good. Yes, I think so too. As I've said before, I sweat numbers. You know, I was really stressing over the idea that it didn't line up the way it was designed or intended or whatever. And if I had any hair to pull, I'd be pulling it out. And I finally just said, hey, I have to do what it takes to get it to where it'll work. And that's what I did. And I agree, it is looking pretty good. Charlie Seidelman, hot and humid in Eastern PA again. Geesh, how are we supposed to get any work done on our projects in this heat, especially when they're outside? Yeah, I agree with you. The heat is difficult to deal with. Nandu, good evening, Barry, and everybody was working in the garage, but it was too hot here in PA. I'm going to give both of you, Pennsylvania, each get a bell. Well, you share a bell. I don't want to get give out too many at one time. So you get to share one. Robert, evening all at home this time instead of at the airport. Still 102 degrees here. They promised a day or two under 100 this week, but I don't believe it. Well, will you really notice, though? 2 degrees? I think you're going to need a big 8 to 10 degree drop to really appreciate a temperature change. Those little increments don't really help much, but I'm glad you're here. Rick, mentally exhausted. My mother's still in the hospital, going to enjoy sitting back with this crowd. Just relaxing. Hope everybody's doing well. 92 degrees in New Jersey right now. Well, glad you're here, Rick, and I'm sorry to hear about your mom. Ray Buckman. Good afternoon, everyone. Got off of work, was going to start to assemble the front suspension, and it began to rain. I gave up and the rain stopped. It's a sign. It's a sign. No, don't do this today. Do something else. Glad you're here. Let's see. Where am I at? Hold on. Figure it out. Hey, Infernal, thanks for the tips on a welding mask. Loving the ease of use versus a traditional helmet. Awesome. Yeah, I know he did a review on a smaller mask on his channel. I think it was pretty cool. And Robert figured out, awesome, I really like the small goggles for tight spots. Yes. Yeah, there is quite the advantage to not having the great big hood blocking you from getting into places. So I'm glad you both are using those masks, or face shields. Steve Grimes, good evening, everyone from South Central PA. Glad you're here, Steve. Robert, the hottest part of summer is just starting here in Texas. Yikes. Okay. Well, all I can hope is you can survive it. Steve checking in, Footage Factory. Yo. I don't know where you're at now. If you're in Scotland or anywhere else. But I'm glad you're here. Ray Buckman, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Yes, by all means. Dave Conville, good evening from the high desert of northern New Jersey. The high desert of northern New Jersey. I don't think I've ever heard that expression before. That sounds a little contradictory in my opinion. Roger, spoiler alert, it was interesting and sort of depressing. Yes, yeah, we'll discuss that in just a minute. Sammy Lisa Smith, hello Barry, if it rains tonight, it'll be hotter than where the devil lives tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah, let's hope not. Rick Stevenson, hello everyone. Glad you're here, Rick. Figured out. Question regarding painting the cowl on a 66. How do you paint the lower level, if at all? So you're talking about painting it on the car without removing the upper cowl, I assume? Or are you talking about painting it and then installing the upper cowl? There's a couple ways you can do this. And I'm gonna look at it as you're installing a complete new cowl. Typically what I do, I will prep the lower cowl, I will add sealant around the towers, and then scuff it and spray a paint. Now you could, I've seen this done, you could spray the factory color or whatever color you're going to use. If you're using black or blue or red or whatever, spray that in that panel out of your regular paint can, right? You could even clear coat it if you wanted to. And then what I've seen people do is take a piece of plastic and set it inside and kind of gently tape it into the interior of the panel, and then put the upper cowl in place, weld everything in, do all the body work, leave that plastic in there, and then after everything is painted and you're all done and you're happy with it, they take a hook and they grab the plastic from the side drain vents or a pair of pliers, whatever, and pull it and pull that piece of plastic all the way out. Poof! Now you have a painted cowl that looks like it was, not like it was done at the factory, I can tell you that. But you have a cool looking painted cowl. That's one idea. Now, if you're doing it with everything installed, the approach is a little bit different. I doubt you're going to want to put clear coat in there. You could put base coat in, but normally in that situation, you're stuck kind of spraying between the grills, or you have to come in from the side, shoot some in there, like with a syringe, or I've done this before, shoot, not in the cowl, but in the rocker panel, shoot with like a syringe, get it up in there, and then take an air hose and blow it from the side, everywhere you can, blow it up into. There you go. I did a little wave thing. You can blow it into those areas that will be seen through the cowl vent. That's the two ideas that I can think of offhand. If anybody else has any input, by all means, share it. That was a great question. Cool Store 187. Hi, all from New Zealand. Cole down here working on a 65 Impala big block, imported as a complete car, but disassembled. LOL, big list of missing parts. Oh, well, that sucks. So it wasn't really a complete car if it's missing parts, but glad you're working on something cool. Anyway, 65 Impala big block. That's cool. Oh, Jeff. Awesome, Jeff. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate that very, very much. Put a little star by that one. Let's see. Rick Gain, I've never seen desert in northern New Jersey. Yeah, that's... I don't think anybody has. Unless he's on the beach. Does that count? Is the beach count? If you go to the beach, does that count as a desert? I'm not sure what the parameters are for a desert. Sand, when you think of desert, you think of sand. So maybe that's what he's implying. Marshall, howdy folks, working on finishing rear interior. What have you guys used to restore, repaint the plastic pieces? CJ sells a lacquer. That's right. And thanks. I've not had to spray any plastic pieces inside. If that's what they offer, I would assume that's acceptable. I would assume. You know how that is. But I have not actually sprayed any of those plastic. Well, I take that back. I don't know if those are plastic. Or those are the 68, are they plastic or metal? The side panels. I'm thinking mine were metal. I sprayed those black. But I think they were metal. So I'm not sure, what the requirements are for doing those pieces. Anybody have any help? Let them know. Okay. So the thing I want to talk about. This was torturous. It really, really was. I have a friend who does transmissions. When I have a problem with a transmission, I don't even bother. I just don't. I don't want to do it. I know I could take it apart. I could look at pictures and look at manuals and do all that disassembly and reassembly. I'm sure I can do all that. But cleaning all that stuff, you need some special tools to do all that. I just don't. I would rather hand it to my buddy and say, fix it. And when he's done, I'm done. And I put it back in the car and I'm good to go. The situation was the little gold Honda Civic that I rebuilt. The car had been running, it ran great when I had it in and out of the shop. I drove it up and down the street, took it out on a main road, went down the road about a mile, turned around and tried to come back, and it wouldn't come back. It didn't make it back. So I had to get a friend to tow me, got it back here, and it sat out here for several months. And finally my wife said, "What are you doing with that car?" I said, "I got to do something with it." So I contacted Charlie, and that's my buddy, and I said, can you take care of this Honda for me? And he said, sure. So I took him the car. He's had it several weeks. And today we were able to go over and pick it up and drive it back, and runs like a champ. Fantastic. Turns out the torque converter was bad. I don't know how torque converters go bad, but it was bad. So he did a rebuild on the basic rebuild on the transmission, a few other things, took care of it. But while I was there, and I've known Charlie for years and years and years, many, many years, and I've been over to his place many times, and I know that he has vehicles. He has multiple vehicles sitting around all the time. And I know he has Mustangs. And while I was there, me and Roger, I said, "Hey, do you mind if I look at the Mustangs just to see what's going on with them?" Now, Charlie likes to do some drag racing. He likes his cars, and I know he wants to build stuff. I know that. And I can't argue with him because I want to build stuff too, and I end up having stuff sitting around for a period of time, off and on. Well, he said, "Yeah, go look in the shed over there." So Roger and I went over to the shed, and the first thing I noticed, which I had seen it before, but I completely forgot, there's a '67 convertible sitting over in a corner. It's not his car; it's somebody else's car. The guy had it, started working on it, and I guess he died. And now the widow wants him to finish it. It's been in there quite a while, and I don't know if he'll ever finish it, honestly. But it's a '67 V8 automatic convertible. So then, sitting next to it, and I really don't know for sure if it's a '65 or '66. There's a V8 60. Let's say '65 V8, and I think it was a stick shift car. I think, and open the door on that car. The interior is like perfect in this car. It looked like somebody had redone it. Really, really nice. But the rest of the car was all like dirty for one thing. But the quarter panels have been maybe worked on, and there was some body work done to them and stuff like that. So we're looking at those cars, and I was like, okay, I know there's another one or two Mustangs here. So we went out of the shed, went up to the other end of his property, and he was with us, and he walked up, and I knew these cars were there, but I haven't seen them like up close in a while. So we get up there, and in this garage or into the house, on the right side is I think it's either a 55 or 56 T-Bird sitting there, convertible, whatever, sitting there, and it's like disassembled and whatever, but it's just sitting there. Look to the other side, and again, I don't know if it was a 65 or 66. I'm thinking it was a 66 though. Mustang fastback with a 390 in it, with the 390 badging on it, and yeah. It's just sitting there. Stuff piled up on it. Sitting outside is a 64 Galaxy. Sitting to the side of that is another 65 Mustang. So he has a variety of vehicles there that I'm like, are any of these for sale? Any of these? Anything? No, he doesn't. He said, I'm going to, you know how it is. Everybody said, I'm going to work on it. I'm going to fix it up one day. So it was really just kind of seeing these cars sit there and knowing that they're probably not going to go anywhere for any period of time. Very frustrating. But they're at least, most of them are indoors. There's only one sitting outside. Well, one Mustang and the Galaxy. Brad gave me a tip there. Appreciate your channel and the details of you showing the... wait a minute. Appreciate your channel and the details you show. Enjoying the Gasser project. Keep them coming. Thank you, Brad. I appreciate that. That's pretty awesome. Thank you. So I'll put a star by yours too. I don't know what that does, but there's a star there. Dave Conville. No beach here, just tumbleweed that used to be my lawn. I get it. Let's see. Isuzu, thumbs up. I have no idea what that says. I wouldn't even know how to translate that. So Isuzu, you get it. I'll give you. I hope it's something good. I don't know what that says. Aaron is checking in. Says hi, Barry. Hello, Aaron. Troy Justin, 65 T-Bird. You have my attention. No, not 65. Did I say 65? 55. Yeah, the first T-Bird. 55 or 56. Sorry. I hope I didn't say 65. 55 or 56. I'm not sure, but I'm thinking it's a 55. Rick, take the BP to that place you saw the other Mustang. Sounds like it would fit right in. Another valuable car that will never get worked on again. Yeah. Seems that way, doesn't it? It sure seems that way. Rumor is somebody's coming to get it at the end of summer. Rumor, summer. end of summer. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Now I'm going to tell you. Let's see. Wait a minute. Ray Barry, regarding the 55 for strength on the front, I was thinking about tubing coming up behind the core support under the front fender and down in front of the cowl. So you were thinking make a hoop just over the top, so it would go from somewhere back there, come up and come forward and down to the front section. Is that what you had in mind? It's not a bad idea, but you still end up with, well, and actually if you did that, if you made a short hoop and then you added some triangle bracing, it would help spread that load, let's say, because now the car is not going to be drag raced, but thinking in the bigger picture, let's say you had the rear frame and then the front section and it wanted to come up. If you had a piece of tubing, then you could add some struts that would help support it. So that's not a bad idea. I will look into it more. It's really difficult to come up with a solution on this. As I don't know if I showed. I know I showed it on my Patreon. The coming up underneath the shackle mount, there's no way to get under there. I don't see that working. And that's the only place you could put that bottom strap that would make sense to me. The alternative, I say alternative, there's always alternatives, you could almost do like a piece of, I don't even know if that would work. I was trying to think like if you had a bridge, like you had think like a chain link. So you had a post, let's say you had the frame and you welded a piece of pipe underneath the frame in front of the shackle, and then you welded a piece underneath the frame in the back, and then you bridge those two with a link so that you're outside the frame, but it would create kind of a bridge kind of thing. So I don't know. I'm still struggling with the idea of what I need to do, but I kind of like that kind of roll bar effect. I kind of wish, in a sense, that he was putting a roll cage in this, because then you could come off of the cage, come through the firewall. But again, he's just going to be driving this car, cruising it around. So, but I like the idea. I'll look into that a little more. Thank you for that. Troy, sorry I meant 56 dyslexia. Yeah, okay. Robert, I'll be there in the summer with the trailer. Hey, you got to pay the storage bill. That's all I can say. Ray says yes. Donnie Williams says howdy. Hello, Donnie. Robert says similar to the MTF kit on the BP. Yes, I get that, but I don't know if I would. I don't want to attach anything to the body on this because the body is separate, so it's going to have to go. Yeah, it's going to have to be all to the frame itself. But those are some good ideas. Yeah, shackles are in the way, exactly. Yeah, roll cage, tie it all together. That would be ideal. It would be ideal. But here's what, we have to do what we have to do. Dawn's Manufacturing, hello all, late as usual from 100 Degree PDX. Hey, just glad you're here, Dawn. Hope all is well. Give you a bell for showing up. Mr. Mikey, new here, be gentle, old enough to have bought a 67 Mustang off the showroom floor, been a Ford man ever since. Well, you know what? I'll give you 5 bells for being there. That's pretty awesome. Old enough to have bought a 67 Mustang off the showroom floor. I'm glad you're here. I really am, because that means a lot. Man, kudos to you. I'm glad you showed up. And gentle is all part of my thing here. I don't get too bossy or pushy or anything like that. Now you got me thinking, Ray, about that hoop thing. I'm kind of intrigued by the idea. And now you got me thinking on a whole different tangent, because I mentioned that I've got those transmission mounts for the bell housing. And I'm almost wondering, could I incorporate those somehow? Use those as launch points for the tubing and not even have it up on top, or if I could come from underneath, like into the side. You got me thinking now. That's good. I like that. Make me think. I like it. I like it. Because I've said it before, whenever I have problems or whatever, I try to go to bed with that in my head, and a lot of times I can solve it. Might take a couple days, but a lot of times I can come up with a good solution. So I have kind of a story that I'm going to tell you, and this is I say this because it's a story, but it was actually a dream. Bear with me. Bear with me. Do you ever have dreams where you are doing something, or you're involved in something, or you're trying to fix something or solve a problem or whatever, and you can't do it, or somebody gets in your way, or it causes conflicts, and you wake up from that dream and you're like, what does that mean? So let me tell you what I had a dream last night. And this is how crazy my mind works. I had a dream that I think the dream involved wanting to put different wheels on something. Like my wife wanted some sportier wheels on a vehicle. I don't even know what the vehicle was. But to do that, you had to put on wheel adapters to change the lug pattern or something. Why am I even thinking about this? Why is this even in my head when I'm going to sleep, in the middle of the night? So the idea was that I would have to put on these wheel adapters, and they had to be like 2 inches thick and about maybe a 5-inch, 5-inch diameter, right? Had to have holes in them for the studs and holes for this and that and the other. Well, here I am. I'm dreaming about this for some reason, and I ordered one of these to test fit it. And it was one of those where I ordered it without knowing what it would cost. I thought, oh, it can't be that much. It's just a chunk of steel, right? So the thing shows up, and I look at it. I'm like, this is not complicated. This is just a 2-inch thick piece of. Let's say you had a piece of bar stock that was 5-inch diameter, 2-inch thick, and you just bored out some holes in it, whatever. And I test fitted it. I'm like, okay, that works. How much are these things? And I find out the guy's charging $450 for one, not for the whole set, for one. Now, mind you, this is a dream that I'm having for no reason whatsoever. So I'm laying there, and I kind of wake up from that dream, and I'm angry. I'm like, how is he justifying $450 to make something like this? That's ridiculous. And I'm mad that this guy's charging so much for this nothing piece of metal. And I'm awake at this point. Okay? This is the crazy part. I am awake, and I'm processing it as if this is a real thing. And I'm like, okay, the measurements were, in my mind I had these measurements: 5 inches, 2 inches thick. This is the pattern. Okay, I know somebody who has access to a CNC mill, so I could probably take this and I know where I can get bar stock, and I can take that, and then we can just basically copy this thing, because there's no reason why it should be $450, and I can copy it, and then I'm not going to sell these. I just want to make a set, and this is what my mind is doing, and I'm trying to do the math on all this stuff, and it took me like half an hour to shut my brain off and say, what are you thinking? This is a dream. This isn't even real. Why are you processing this? Does anybody else have that situation? I'm like, why did this become such a priority to me? Whether I'm gonna be awake and try to think about a solution for that. Then I got mad at myself. I'm like, you have to go to sleep. You can't lay here and think about a pointless nothing and get frustrated over it. So that's what does anybody else ever have those kind of dreams? What does it mean? What does it mean? Okay. So anyway, that's my dream story. Roger, fender well headers give you options inside the frame that regular headers don't. That is true. Gives you more room for sure. For sure. Ray Barry, I used to have those dreams to solve problems. Yeah. Well, I like the ones where I'm dreaming about something that makes sense. And I actually, oh, there's an idea, you know? But when you're dreaming about nothing, this never mattered from the time I fell asleep to the time I woke up. I'll never be putting on some sort of adapter onto whatever vehicle that we don't even have. Just drove me crazy. So how was your day? Man. Dawn, yeah, that happens. My awake solution is more practical than back to sleep. Yeah. Well, I would have liked it to have been about something that really mattered. Not just some imaginary nothing that I'm not even dealing with. So, anyway. At this point, I want to kind of bring up some stuff on this. As you can see, I have the frame or the engine cross member laying up there. I have the transmission cross member laying up there, and I have the axle piece laying underneath it. Now, the next step in the process, at least as near as I can tell, is I'm going to get it on the ground. I have to get it on the ground. So I'm going to put the tires and wheels on the back, get the axle. I got to flip it over, actually. Get it mounted so that it sits as it should. And then the idea is I'm going to roll it around and work on the engine and transmission, getting those in place. And obviously there's some trimming I'll have to do because that cross member, I think the interior gap is 29 inches inside here to here. And this is way more than 29 inches. Now, sometimes it's stuff like this that drives me crazy too, because this is a nicely bent piece of tubing. What I want to see is this being flat. And what I mean by that is I feel like in just looking at it that the ends of this are tipped up. They're not parallel not parallel to the ground. Like, they're kind of off a little bit. I would rather see this totally flat. However, I can't bend it. I don't have the equipment to bend such a thing. And the problem I run into is whenever I go to put this up in place, if you put the tube in a clamping device like my Evolution chop saw, it's going to square this, right? You clamp, and that means your cut is going to be 90 degrees typically. But if you can tilt it, with the base plate, then your cut can change, and that's where I have to figure out that angle. Because if this isn't square, you're not talking 90 degrees anymore. It's got to be off slightly. So that angle is going to frustrate me a little. Now, granted, it doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to get a nice heavy weld holding it in place. But it's stuff like that I like to see things level and square. The transmission cross member is actually a product from Summit, I think is who sells it. Let me look and see what it says on the box. This is from, I don't know who makes it. It says custom tube Trans X member black. I don't see a real name on it. It says CP90044. And there's a bunch of, I say a bunch, there's some extra pieces inside of here that create how you put it in the car. And so I'll have to figure that out because right now, the way I see this, it appears that this is going to sit on top of the frame, which makes sense, but it may not. It may have to go under the frame and be bolted up from the bottom. It could be a variation of all that. There's different ways to mount this. So I'm glad that this is a complete piece and I don't have to mess with it. And it's supposedly designed for these cars. So hopefully it'll fit like it's supposed to. The other thing that is on the agenda, and I know there was one mounted to the cross member, but we're using solid motor mounts. There's really no other option. The way I look at it, you're gonna have to have something solid because of the way that design is for the cross member. So those will be going in. Oh, and I have something else I want to show you. This is cool. This is really cool. The owner of the car, you saw a picture. You saw the engine. It has it's painted orange and has black MT valve covers. It's just what's on there. Check these out. He's got a set of these. Pretty. 396. Very, very nice. So he wants me to put this on the engine when I test fit things to make sure it clears the firewall. So those are some of the things that have to take place in order to make the get the engine located where it needs to be. Let's see here. Where are we at? Okay, Ray Buckman. I had a great day, no thinking job, driving for Avis. Okay, sometimes those are good. Yeah, like if you ever take a road trip and you can just kind of like look at the road ahead of you. It's funny in that description. They talk about the difference between men and women and how women have like a whole bunch of boxes, right, that are all connected, and this box relates to that box, and in their head there's all these boxes. And they said men, we have a nothing box that we can go to where it's just nothing. And that's what that is when you're driving around, and you just don't think about anything. You're kind of subconsciously driving down the road and taking the turns and doing all that sort of thing, and yep, I'm just an empty space right now, just driving down the road. So the nothing box. Terry, thank goodness I'm not the only crazy dreamer. Yeah. Yeah. Terry, someone send Barry a pick of barbecue ribs therapy food. Yeah. I could just show you a previous rack of ribs that Robert sent. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Dawn. Just chalk it up another point. I'll just chalk up another point in your Mr. Fix-It box. Yes. Yes. Let's see. Robert, that's an off-the-shelf engine mount pipe, i.e. circle track style. Yeah. Yeah, it's not complicated. Okay, so off the shelf, and Robert says keyboard battery is charging and nearly dead. Okay. Bob Shoemaker, years back, I had a dream where I was building up a business that remanufactured pre-computer cars. Woke up and started listening to things it would take to actually do it. Yeah. Speaking of crazy dreams, I don't know how many. I can't tell you how many times I've had this dream. I have the shop here, and I've had this dream several times where I built this shop that was big enough that you could put like I don't know, a car dealership in. That I built this whole place out of wood, and it had paint booths in it, and it had repair shops and all this. It was huge. It was huge. And I've built that thing I don't know how many times in different dreams. And it's always the same way. It's always the same kind of structure and same building. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do here? There's no way I'll ever be able to afford something like that. But I've had that dream many, many times. That's pretty funny, though. Thanks, Bob. Ray, I'm thinking under the frame because the trans mount is below the trans itself. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. So we'll see how it plays out. Charles, hello from thunderous Pensacola, Florida, where the storms occur daily, sometimes twice a day. Everyone hit the like button. Great to finally get to participate live. All right. Thank you, Charles. Glad you're here. Don, yes, under frame and flipped over for how he was holding it. Yeah. That's what I figure. I just don't like, I wish it would kind of hang just because. I know with his box frame, there are pieces in the box, and of course, when all the measuring takes place, I'll figure it out. But there are pieces in the box that mimic the ends of the cross member. So the other thing I'll have to consider, and this is something else I really didn't think about too much, the transmission will dictate basically where the tail of the transmission sits. And then I have to look at the angle for the engine. And I'm not sure what that number needs to be, if it's like 3 degrees or something like that. And I was going to put my digital level on top of the intake manifold. I think that's a good reference. Put it on top of the intake manifold and adjust till I get the degree. So if anybody has any input on that, that would be helpful. Because I know it can't sit completely level. It has to be angled slightly. So I'm sure we'll have some input from that. Figured out, Dawn, you get those mini tubs in. I've been trying to find the courage to cut mine open by watching you. Okay. Dawn says, figured out no tubs in Betsy. Yep. I'm not sure who else was. Somebody talked about doing mini tubs. Ed, build a shop and they will come. Cars, that is. Yes. Yeah, and that's. Yeah. Well, it's not going to happen. I don't have any of the enough greenbacks to make that happen, so not going to happen. Ray, yeah, I was just thinking that also, Barry, does the engine fit off center slightly for the drive shaft angle? Yeah, it's got to be, like I said, I think it's like 3 degrees. Now, the difficulty with that, some of that difficulty, I think it's not going to matter. The frame is in a fixed location. I was thinking tires and wheels, but they really don't matter. The frame is what you're dealing with because that creates the location for your rear axle, your spring mounts, and so you have to get the degree right. And I'm sure there's something out there online that says if you're putting in this blah blah blah, angle it whatever degree. I think it's probably 3.5 is my guess, because you need to have that angle for the drive shaft to be. You don't want it totally square in the yoke. You need it to be angled. So whatever that number is, I'll figure it out when I get to that point. But, so what else is going on out there? I know we've had several people comment about some things, and let me see if I have any input on the Gmail. I don't know if anybody posted any pictures or not. Now, the other thing that I was, let's see, Roger, pinion angle has to match engine angle, I think. Yeah, and that makes sense. I did manage to make it to a local cruise-in Saturday. A little frustrated because I haven't had any issues with the Mustang starting since I changed the solenoid like 5 years ago, whatever it was. So I thought, I'm just gonna jump in it and go over to the car show and just hang out a little bit. So I tried that, and I went to start it. Nothing. And I thought, well, is there not enough juice in the battery? What's going on? So I took I have a Hulkman jumper, hooked it on, tried it, nothing. Well, I knew I had power then, so I went ahead and took a screwdriver and jumped the solenoid. Cranked right over. And then I jumped in the car and hit it with a key, and it started. It cranked. It did what it was supposed to do. So the solenoid is actually a Napa solenoid because I've run into problems with the other generic junky ones, and I've had good luck with this Napa. So I don't know if it is causing problems now, if it's had an issue, but I drove it to the car show and walked around and got to see some cool stuff, and then went to go in the car to leave. Same thing, wouldn't turn. Grabbed a screwdriver, hit the solenoid once, got back in the car. So I'm thinking it's got to be something with the solenoid having issues. But I'm kind of surprised that it's doing that because it wasn't like your cheap solenoid. And I don't know what else I need to do, but I'll try to figure that out as well. Dawn says, yes, I think Barry's referencing that U-joints need some angle to last longer. Yeah. Yeah, because if you try to go straight, you need the U-joint to actually kind of move as it rotates through its cycle. If you stay straight, we ran into this problem. I think Roger probably may remember. I had a big four-wheel drive Chevy truck. It was like a 89 long bed, extended cab, big four-wheel drive. And I was driving it, and I started getting a vibration. And it turns out that the drive shaft, the U-joint on that truck, because the drive shaft it wasn't a two-piece, it was a one-piece. It was really, I'm pretty sure it was a one-piece. But anyway, the U-joint was not moving. It was basically straight. And what that did is it dried out the U-joint. It wasn't moving, so it wasn't limber, let's say. It's almost like if you had put your wrist in a cast and left it there forever, it may never move again. So I started getting a vibration, had to take it apart and swap out that U-joint. So that's one of the things I know they talk about is having the angle, like the front of the drive shaft at one angle and then the back of the drive shaft at the same angle but opposite each other. So Robert says engine 5H to the passenger side more so for offsetting part of the weight since generally there's only the driver in the car. Interesting. I hadn't thought about that. That's interesting though. Engine 5H to the passenger side. I'll try to make a mental note of that. And then figure out, of course, the angles as we talked about. What else was there? Somebody else had... Oh, yeah, somebody contacted me recently about repairing a door for a Chevelle. And he sent me some pictures of it. And it was one of those where it would be something that shouldn't be that difficult. But the problem is it was a rust at the bottom of the door. So when the door skin comes down and folds back on itself, and you have the flange that drops into that the folded metal, the next part of the door, which is outside of the door seal gasket, like on a Mustang, it was rusted through. And I looked at it, and he was asking me if I could fix it. I said, maybe. Because the difficulty with that is if you've got rust coming all the way across the bottom and then the flange that goes down into what would be the pinch weld, to fix that, you almost need to open up that pinch weld so that you can get that rusted piece out. And then by the time you make that piece and get it back in there, it seemed like it would be pretty difficult to come up with. So I had to kind of tell him, I don't think I can do it. I mean, not without... I wouldn't want to risk damaging the door skin because the rest of the door looked really good. So that's the kind of the difficulty of that. Doyle sent some before and after photos of the trunk gutter I built this weekend, thinking out of the box. Well, let me hold on a second. See if I can get. Okay. Let me download that. And download that one. Oh, that's a good one too. So there's several pictures here. I'm going to try to show you what I can. Hold on a second. Because I know I only have so much space in my file that I can use. Okay, here we go. Let me add these pictures. So I'll show you the first one. As soon as it shows up, here we go. So this is his gutter, and I know this is. Hold on, just a second. I built these out of 3/4 inch square tubing from Lowe's. Taillight panel and trunk gutters not available at all. Turned out well. Oh, well, then I don't know if I downloaded that one or not. So there was some rust there. Let me get the next one. Get that one to open. Yeah. And that's what's difficult when you've got something that nobody makes the parts for. You got to be creative, and I think I like your approach on that when you said the 1-inch square tubing, because that's really about what you have as far as a shape, and so there's a repair. That's pretty good. I guess that's some body filler on in those areas. So you had that, and come up with that. That's I actually like that. I'm sure that was some light duty tubing. I doubt they sell anything heavy there, and yeah, that creates the lip, gives you the drop flange. Let me see what the other one looks like. And so this is a long run. Whoops, I've got too many pictures, it says. Hold on. Try one more time. One more time. Here it comes. Okay, so now you got it all behind the latch and everything. That's actually a pretty good idea. Using those, you said it was 3/4 inch. Let me look at that again. 3/4 inch square tubing from Lowe's. Taillight panel and trunk gutters are not available. That turned out really, really decent. I mean, obviously you're gonna have to add some filler, but to give you a solid opening again, and if you got the gap good for the gasket and everything, yeah, I'll give you some bells. That's some great thinking. Great job, Doyle. Dawn says gas tank is offset 2, so it would be offset to the passenger side. I don't know how it is on 55 or 56. I don't remember. I think it's a. I don't remember if it's a strap-in tank or not, because I think isn't the 56 a filler neck in the taillight panel? Or in the taillight, isn't it? I don't even remember. I think one of them had the gas filler neck in the taillight. I thought they did. I could be wrong. Or maybe I've seen the custom ones built that way. So that was always a cool thing. have that behind a taillight. Maybe I've just seen custom ones built that way. I don't remember. Okay, let me get back to this. Yeah, Mr. Mikey in the left taillight. Okay, see, I thought I was right. And Don Robert says in the taillight. Yep. Okay, thank you, both of you. But I really don't know. I know what you're saying though with the offset. I guess I never really thought about it with the Mustang, but it is offset with the Mustang. That makes sense. That you're offset weight slightly by moving it to the right. That makes sense. And Robert, I like that 5/8 of an inch, because I was just honestly I would have went dead center with that with the engine, but now that makes sense. Dawn says, "Yep, flip the chrome and drop the taillight." Now I have to go over and play with it because I haven't looked at it. I know the taillights are in the car, but I haven't really looked at them. Okay, so that's again, Ray has given me some ideas as to how to try to reinforce that frame section, and those are some good thoughts. Now, the other idea that I had talked about was putting a long strap on the inside of the frame, like over top of the piece that I left in there, and just extending it way back underneath, so it kind of has a transition point, and just kind of joggles up and flows forward. That was my other idea. So I'll look at the tubing though. I think there's some good stuff in that. Mr. Mikey, I took my driver's test in a 56. That's cool. You know when I took my driver's test in? Let me see if I remember. It was an 80, I think that's what it was. Oh gosh. I think it was like an 81 Renault Le Car. Little R5 Renault. I think that's what I took my driver's test in. I think. Little econo box that they had in the 80s. Not the best little cars, but we had a bunch of them. Robert, GM has done their drivetrains 5/8 inch to the passenger side for many decades, and the steering wheels are angled towards the driver's door on many brands of cars, just more oddities. Well, that's interesting, because you know you don't think about those things very much. Now, I wonder why the angled toward the driver's door. Was that for a collision purpose? As you know, just trying to give give it somewhere to go, somewhat. I don't know. That's interesting. That's interesting. Dawn, we had a 56 back in 58. Did a frame swap. The guy who bought it still has it. Okay, she had a 56 in 58. When did you do the frame swap, and when did you sell it? So that would be the parameters for that. Because that's a long time. That is a long, long time. And I needed to, I wanted to mention to Dave Conville that I'm still waiting to hear from some of your compadres. Still waiting to hear from some compadres about some cars. So if you hear anything, let me know. Dawn, more foot room and tunnel room. So when you did a frame swap, you bought it wrecked. But when you did what did you swap the frame? And what do you mean more foot room and tunnel room? Talking about the steering column, I guess. Or the offset. I guess maybe the offset too. I don't know. Sometimes I just have to kind of weave my way into it. Ray, Barry, and all have a great night. Awaiting the next video. I gotta go buy some food. Okay, glad you're here, Ray. I appreciate your input. I really do. Give you a good bye bell. How about that? There's been a lot of things going on around the world, around the country. There's been some crazy stuff going on in different parts of our United States, and I was thinking about this a little bit. You know, we have conflicts going on in different parts of the world. We have conflicts in Europe, and we have some conflicts in China and Taiwan and all those sort of things, and we take it for granted. I think sometimes how we we rely on too much on foreign-made products to come into the country, but we also take it for granted how lucky we are sometimes to be where we're at and not have direct, those things right at us. Like not like having. I don't think Canada's going to attack us anytime soon. I don't think so. I don't think Mexico's going to attack us anytime soon. But sometimes you see all that crazy stuff going on TV, and we forget that we're pretty lucky to be where we're at. And here we are on a Monday night talking about cars and the stuff that we're doing and projects and all those sort of things. So I'm going to give a bell to the USA just because I can. Just because I can. Don, my dad bought Rex and fixed up. I didn't fall too far from the tree. Well, yeah, that's a lot of what I did. Dad would occasionally fix up Rex, but a lot of it was just buy and sell parts. Robert, the convertible frame was factory cross brace and an upgrade for a hardtop. That is true. That is true. And Robert on the Tri-5. Yes. And Robert says, we live in Disney World. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. And sometimes we just don't realize the differences we have from where we're at and everywhere else around the world. And, we have people that don't always think about that. They want things their way all the time. And, just some thoughts that I had this week. Figured out we in Canada have too much internal conflict over attack Southern Big Brother. Haha. Mean to ask, would you recommend the I Did It kit? That's a good question. I don't have any issues with the I Did It kit steering column. They seem well made. So yeah, I can't say don't buy it. I know that there's other companies out there. I Did It, Flaming River, are the two primary ones that I can think of. And I don't know if anybody else has tried to copy them or not, but I don't see a problem with it. And Robert says, check out the steering columns on eBay, same as the I Did It, but far cheaper. So there you go. There's a input from Robert on the I Did It steering column, or the clone of it. And yes, they are just standard GM columns. Technically Saginaw columns. That's another thing too. When we talk about these, hold on a second, Rick. I've been around the world twice, over 70 different countries. I know how good we have it. Yes. Thank you, Rick. And there's a lot of people who just don't. They just don't. And they take for granted the stuff that we do and how we live, and they'll point to other countries and say, well, they're doing that. Why can't we do that? Or they're doing that. Why can't we do that? And the reality is we're pretty good the way we have it. And they try to change things. And, this includes all the emissions laws, the carbon buybacks, and all those different things, electric vehicles, they're trying to shove down our throats. And people don't realize what it really means to have an electric car, the requirement that it needs to have, the charging station, power grid, all those different things. You look out in California, and they're talking again about rolling blackouts and how they're asking people to not charge their electric cars because the grid can't handle it. And there's just so many things that get manipulated, and they only give you part of the story. We talked about the carbon footprint of an electric car is massive. And then you have to fuel that electric car, which is usually coal or hydroelectric, nuclear, whatever. Um, Everybody thinks, hey, well, not everybody. People with common sense know. But a lot of people say, well, there's electricity. It's in the wall. You just plug it in. It's right there. That's all it takes. Boom, I'm done. Just plug it in. And they don't realize what it takes to get that power to your house. So there's sometimes you just have to you have things that make you go, huh? You know. Robert, people should travel more to other countries to learn how we have it, the good and the bad of other places. Yeah. Rick, I don't mean to bring politics into this, but watching Fox News, sad day for our country. The left has really gone too far. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. I haven't seen any of that. So, Doyle, are we going to have to convert our classics to electric, or do you think they'll ration fuel like in World War II? It depends who's in charge, but I don't see how we can get away from fossil fuels, oil industry stuff. I just don't see it. There's too much demand on any kind of system we have that there's no way everybody could have an electric car and have electricity for your house, electricity for your businesses, electricity for this and that and the other. You'd have to shut everything else off just to power the cars. And even then, it probably wouldn't be enough. Robert, here in Texas, we are very reliant on wind and solar. And the problem is the wind stops in the heat of the day. Good sources of power, but we still need to have other generation to make up for the dips. Well, and the thing, too, the windmills, everybody should know that, like, the blades can't be salvaged. They're taking those things out and burying them in the desert somewhere, trying to hide them from everybody because they can't repurpose them or do anything with them. And then, of course, what it takes to put up that windmill and all those sort of things. Yeah, it generates power, but there's also a bad side to it that people don't tend to know about. Mr. Mikey, local electric company wants $2,500 to $3,500 to install a charger at your house. I'm sure they do. Yeah. So there's another ring up of cost that you don't want. Dave, the news right now is very frightening. This is not good. Okay, I have not looked at what's going on, so I don't know. I'm not sure what that's implying. Let me see what's. Yeah, I'm not sure what else is going on, but Rick, California is going to start taxing people for the water they use from wells on their own property. I've heard about that. That's how crazy California is. They said now, if you have a well on your property, you have to pay for the meter. You have to take charge of paying the bill based on what the meter shows for the water coming out of the ground that you own. Now they're charging people for their own water. Figure that out. And if you try to cheat the system, well, you're going to jail, buddy. You're going to jail. And if you have an existing well or put in a new well, anything like that, they're going to just start ringing up people. They're just going to start ringing up people. Rick, the FBI raided Trump's house and broke into his safe with crowbars. Oh, okay. Yeah, that doesn't sound very positive. But yeah, the whole crazy stuff out in California with the water, the wells, all that sort of thing. And what was the other thing I was reading about? Talking about the different lakes, it being different, lower levels and blah blah blah. Lake Mead drying up. There's a lot of crazy stuff that's going on. And then of course we have Kentucky getting flooded. Here in the meantime we've got floods happening in different parts of the country. But anyway, I don't want to get too far off off tangent here. So, Ed, I need to replace our HVAC, and California wants to use a heat pump, no natural gas, all electric. Well, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. Just keep adding more to the grid. Mr. Mikey, I like being in my hot garage turning wrenches. Well, I used to like being in a hot garage turning wrenches. But now I like being in my AC garage turning wrenches. That's why I have that mini split. It's running right now. Probably can't see. Temperature in here is about 72. So, very comfortable. Robert, here in Texas, groundwater is your property. Surface water is owned by the state. Some other states already meter residential well water. And that's, I mean, it's just crazy to me. Like here in Georgia, I don't know, we have a deep well. And from what I've been told from the people that bored the well, they said there's enough water just from where we're at on our property that we could provide water. This is what they said, for like our entire town. There's so much water underneath where we live that we could provide water for our entire town. That's what they told me. I was like, okay. But that's why I never wanted to hook into our water system for our city. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. If I want to water this or do that, it's going to, they want to charge you for everything. Dawn's manufacturing because the aquifer is down 400 feet. Is it 400 feet? Because people refuse to control their water use. Yeah. Well, then you get places like out in Vegas where they're pumping water every day, spraying up fountains and all kinds of crazy stuff, just to keep it look pretty. Dave, so let me get this straight. In California, I can steal up to $950 of merchandise, have no penalty, but can't use my own water on my property. Okay, that sounds legit. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That is pretty much it. Yep. Charles, I liked it when I was in my hot garage turning wrenches, but was young enough to not notice the heat. Yeah. A few years back, I was tolerating the heat. I would have my front door open. I'd have a fan blowing, moving air. But as time has gone on, I'm like, you know what? That's why I closed all this in, finished out the walls, insulated the roof, did all that stuff. And now I can operate in here pretty comfortably. In fact, I don't know if I told anybody, I did a video of a test where I put the tarps, I hang them in front of this door because this is it's a steel door and it's a roll up on a drum. And I have 2 tarps outside, those silver tarps from Harbor Freight. No, they're not the prettiest looking thing, but it creates an air cushion. So without those tarps, in the middle of a summer day or in the morning, this door will get up over 110 degrees, just in that door. And then you're trying to run air conditioning, well, it's fighting with the heat of that door. I throw up those tarps, it takes 5 minutes for me to put them up, and I can have that door down to 80, 85 degrees in no time. And that helps tremendously when I'm running this mini split up here. Rick, be careful what you say, Barry. Before you know it, they will run a pipe from your property to the rest of the town. Yeah. Hey, as long as they're paying me, put a meter on it. Yeah. Go for it. Doyle, how do you keep the fire alarm from going off? How do you keep the fire alarm from going off with AC on and door closed? Mine goes off in a house at the same time. Fire alarm? Fire alarm? What fire alarm? I actually don't have a fire alarm in here. It would probably go off every time I weld. It probably would, because it gets smoky in here pretty quick. And I have to. What I normally end up doing is I have a fan in the gable end of the garage on the back end, and I will either roll the door up a couple inches, turn on that fan, and it sucks air underneath the door and up and blows it out of the gable end. So that's what I do. Robert, my shop is about 107 degrees right now. I do have a plan for upgrading the AC though. Yeah. Yeah, you're going to have to. Let me see. Let me see if I can pull up this picture. So Robert sent me this picture of the ceiling temperature at his shop in Texas. 123 degrees. That's plenty hot. That is plenty hot. Yeah. That is plenty hot. And that's where I'm so happy with this whoops, hold on. With the way this is right now. Of course, we're at 8 o'clock at night and the temperature's going down, so that helps tremendously. But just having those tarps in front of the door, world of difference. World of difference. Okay. Tyrone, hi granddad. I just built my 59 Chevy, drove it 2 miles, and put it into a lake. Okay. That doesn't sound positive. Dawn, yep, AC causes abnormal thermal rises and can trigger the alarm. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. Donnie Williams talking to Rick. I was thinking the same thing. Yeah. Well, like I said, if they want to put a meter on, and they can have the water right out of the ground right there. And Robert, and that's an insulated building. Yeah. 123 degrees. Woo. Yeah, I don't blame you for not wanting to be out there. But the fall is coming. It's on its way. It's on its way. Yeah. What else was there? That's really about it for what I've got going on right now. I went to the cruise in. I did see some cool cars. Apparently, I missed it. There was a orange. I was told it was an orange Superbird with a 426 Hemi in it and a 4-speed. And the guy had this at the cruise in. Now, I don't know if it was an original car. I have no idea. I didn't see it. But just imagine that. Somebody driving to the local cruise in with a factory orange 426 Hemi 4-speed Superbird. Yeah. I wish I would have seen it. Terry, hey Robert, is that where you cook your barbecue ribs? Yeah. Tyrone says, Grandpa, I pulled it out, started right up. There is a God. Okay. Well, that's a good thing. Robert almost could cook out there. Yeah. And Robert says, any offers on the Mustang yet? Nope. I have not done any advertising on it. I'm still on the fence. There's still a few things that I need to take care of. Still haven't got the horn squared away yet, and I still have to do the testing on the thermostat or temperature sensor and make sure I get that right. And Rick says, Robert, you don't have a shop, you have a sauna. Pretty much. I don't know if it's enough moisture out there to make it a sauna though. Not that I know of. Okay. I don't want to just sit here and beat a dead horse. Unless somebody has some subject matter we want to talk about, I'm probably going to call it a night, get in the house and get something to eat. Haven't eaten yet. I will be, again, figuring out the rest of this stuff on the 56. And I'm glad that Robert brought up that offset on the engine. I still need to figure out that angle on the engine to the transmission, how it's going to sit. So that's something else I need to do. Andy, did you do the headliner in Jade? Yes, I did. I actually have 2 videos on that. It turned out pretty good. It's not perfect, but it does the job, and it looks fine. Robert is saying, yeah, 2 tons of AC doesn't do much. Looking at getting a 4-ton package unit. Talking about cooling down a shop. Yeah, it's going to take plenty. Andy didn't know if it's difficult. It's time consuming to put in a headliner. There are some variations between different manufacturers of the actual headliner, and it's really about just taking your time and making sure you start like in the back and work your way forward, because that's where the first crossbow or first bow is actually tied into the car. So when you're pulling forward, it has to be hooked, and that gives you your first draw of tension, I should say. And then you work your way forward, and it's just a matter of trimming and gluing and trimming and gluing. So check out the videos, and that might help you with some input on that. I am in conversation, or have been in conversation, with another metal distributor. I'm going to try to work out a deal with him. Maybe I can get some bulk of parts that I can take care of a few cars at the same time. So I have to get that conversation going. I tried to contact him today, and apparently he has some family issues, so I just said I'll talk to you later. But hopefully I can get through him, work something out to where I need a floor pan for a 69 fastback, probably a firewall, a few other pieces, and then of course still want to do the fastback conversion on the 67, so I need to get all those parts as well. Robert, wonder if they would miss an AC cart from the airport. You know, they probably wouldn't. They probably wouldn't. They probably wouldn't notice it for a couple months that it was gone. Andy says, "Will do. Thanks. You're welcome." Okay, so I'm going to call it a night. This has always been good. It's great to have some input and questions and subject matter and ideas thrown around. Oh, Brian. Hi, everyone. Finally made it. Been trying to activate a new phone. Grr, got it done finally. Well, you're kind of. I'll give you a bell. Glad you're here. But we're gonna probably close it up. I got to get something to eat. But I'm glad you made it. You know, we were talking about all kinds of cool stuff, but you missed out. So you have to watch the video later. As I said, I'm going to be working on getting the rest of this stuff mounted up in the 56. Hopefully get a video put together by the end of this week. I did try to get one out. I don't like to release on Sundays. I try to do it on Saturdays, but there was too much going on with everything else that I could not get the video done until Sunday. So just how life works. So that'll be it for this week. We'll be back on next Monday at 7, assuming everything goes well and there's no conflicts. And until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.